Hey guys, Parker here, and I'm gonna do a really quick review of Amnesia: The Dark Descent. Also, this is Project Flashlight, and this is like our first actual review. Get ready. If you see me looking at this thing, this is my my little notebook thingy. Oh, you can't even see it. Can you read that? Alright. So, Amnesia: The Dark Descent was a game made by Frictional Games. 2010 came out, and it's a first-person survival horror kind of adventure, puzzle-solving horror game with the puzzles are more like physics-based than actual like puzzle pieces. When you initially boot the game, there's an actual like warning that pops up and says, "Hey, this isn't play to win. This is meant to be played as an experience." So that's pretty cool because a lot of games are just like, shoot this guy 5 times, you get an achievement. Shoot that guy 20 times, you get an achievement. But Amnesia's just like, immersion. One of the main things that makes it stand out from a lot of other things like Silent Hill or Dead Space is that you can't really fight back. It's not entirely riddled with monsters, the game, but you can't fight them. You have no weapons. I mean, you can pick up items and try to throw them at the enemies, but that usually doesn't do very much. So yeah, your best bet is to run and to hide in the shadow or hide in like a wardrobe or something. There's this really cool fear sanity effect which affects hiding in the dark. It's called sanity in the game because you have your health, which is represented by your heart, and then you have your sanity, which is represented by your brain. And your sanity is increased by making progress in the game and by being like viewing light sources. You get like a lantern, an oil lantern near the beginning of the game. You can also find tinder boxes or matchsticks, which you can use to light candelabras or what have you throughout the game. And viewing those will like increase your sanity. Or I should say Daniel's sanity, who is the protagonist. The sanity will be lowered by standing in the dark, or viewing unsettling events, or looking at monsters. So don't do that if you can avoid it. The effect of the loss of sanity kind of like blurs Daniel's vision, causes like audio and visual hallucinations, and will like draw the attention of monsters, which is bad. It also kind of like makes movement difficult, as it's not like Daniel's drunk, but it's kind of like he's kind of shaky and like unsure of where he's going. And if your sanity lowers enough, he'll collapse to the floor and can barely move and might pass out. So be wary. There are jump scares, but they are sparsely used and well placed. Like there's a couple at the beginning of the game to kind of like give the player the idea of what kind of game this is, but they're not like Dead Space where there's a necromorph at every vent. It's just like, door opened here, and then like 5 minutes later, like, the wind blows through the hall. So, it does use jump scares, but they're few and far between. The soundscape, have I mentioned this game is like my favorite horror game? The soundscape is like one of the main things that makes it. Because, well, like the game is, I'll go over the plot. Basically you wake up as Daniel, after like kind of like trudgingly viewing this like trail of blood. You wake up as Daniel, and it's not like, it's like a pink trail, it's not really blood. And you kind of wander into this room and find the lantern and a note from your self before you drank this potion that gave you amnesia, hence the title of the game. And so this note to yourself basically tells you, hey, this is gonna sound terrible, but you need to kill Alexander. Also, this shadow is following you. And it like tears down reality. So the effects of the shadow are like this like acidy, fleshy red pus stuff that like forms on the walls and doorways, and it's a major roadblock at one point that you have to get through, and it damages you if you are near it or walk on it or whatever. And so the soundscape is really important because it's in a castle called Brennenburg. It's where you're like gradually like making your way down into the depths. And so there's just like wind howling and the groaning and moaning of the castle, and there's things roaring and whimpering and screams that you never even like find the source of. It's just like constant, and the music is well timed and well paced and like perfect for each like area you're in, because like the way it kind of works is it's a little bit like trying to think of a metaphor that isn't weird. It's like a linear Mario Galaxy, I should say, where you have kind of like little hub spaces where you can access different rooms depending on what items you've gotten or what like rooms you've been through already, and like cutscenes you've experienced, so that you can like actually like go through the plot in the right order. But yeah, the soundscape is phenomenal, because like the main like scare factor of Amnesia comes from like the atmosphere and the sound and just like the immersion, as I said, and less so the, well, jump scares. It's a bit heavy on story building and lore, which I love. Like a lot of it, as you're like delving into the depths of Brennenburg, is you're reading, like Daniel's reading notes and journals he's left around Brennenburg, and like discovering his horrible past and like the horrible things that Alexander has done, and like why he ended up taking the amnesia potion stuff. The lore is really well done. I think I'm not a lore person. That's more Max's area, but it's really interesting on the like origin of like the shadow and the orb, which is later in the game. I don't want to spoil these things in these reviews, so I won't get too much into that. But yeah, there's a fair amount of reading. Not all of it is necessary, but I would recommend reading it just for the sake of having a full understanding of what's going on and like all the backstory and all that. In terms of like what to do next kind of thing, you have in your menu a notes section, which gives you, it's basically like what Daniel's written down on like brief notes on where to go next and like what puzzles need to be solved. Like there's this weird goop in the hallway, I gotta find a way to get through it, and stuff like that are just generally helpful. One of my favorite things in this game, there's a lot of favorite things in this game, is it actually shows you like, well, like one of the first few notes you find is like Daniel finding the orb, which is kind of like the origin of, I guess, like coming to Brennenburg and the shadow and stuff. And then like a few minutes into the game, you go down and you basically find like the origin or the birthplace of the monsters that later follow you and like chase you around and try to kill you, which is really neat, instead of just like blah zombies. One of the well-known sections of this game is the water monster section, which can be sometimes mocked because it's just like splashing water that's chasing you, which doesn't seem that scary until you get attacked and killed by it, and then you're just dead, and it's terrifying because like this is like one of the sections where the music is really well used and it's just like really intense, and there's this thing in the water you can't see. It's never explained what it is, but it's also not a one-time gimmick, so it comes up later in the game and is still just as scary. The monsters themselves, as I mentioned already, they're like disfigured people, so they're not like aliens or demons. They're like people who have been disfigured and like enslaved to the willpower of like Alexander, and they're horrifying, and they chase you, and your sanity goes down if you look at them. So yeah, that's pretty cool. That's pretty much it. But yeah, as I already mentioned, like the main thing is that it's an Amnesia, a dark descent. So it's a dark descent down into Brennenburg to find Alexander and to stop him. But it's also Daniel finding like his horrible past and finding these notes and journals, and like he'll briefly like pass out and have these like flashes of memory of things that happened, and just the horrible things in the depths of this castle. And it's a really great journey that I think any fan of horror games should experience. Don't play in the dark. see ya in the next one, kiddos. I just want to show off my shirt. I don't know if anyone noticed I was wearing another similar shirt in the last video, but I'm a fan of these games. And I'll review them at some point, but I just want to show off my cool shirt. Bye.